Okay, 5:31, we're starting. Rabbi Smith could not make it today, so here I am taking his place. Phone might say his name, but Rennie Stein at your service. Okay, all right, we're going to continue with the mission. Oh, before we start, we thank Hashem for giving us the ability, opportunity to learn. We learned for Shlema for Rabbi Smith's father. Do you know his name? Rabbi Smith's father, Hashem knows his name, Rabbi Smith, if you could say his name. We also learning for Shlema for our colleague and friend Naftali, who I miss a lot, Naftali Ben Menucha Bela. Hey Josh, good morning. And also today is the yahrzeit of a dear friend of mine who passed away many years ago. And so for Aliyas Nishma, so Maccabi B'Tzalel Ben Herzl. Well, we're starting on, we're repeating a few lines from yesterday. We're going to start at the Mishnah, a little bit lower than the middle of 53 Nun Gimel Amud Beis, second page of Nun Gimel. All right. Avodas kochavim shenichu Avodah. What about an idol which was abandoned by its worshippers? Bishas shalom muteras. If it was abandoned, because normally we're not allowed to use it or have hanav from an idol. But if they abandoned in a time of peace, the idol is permitted. All right? Why? Because we say, hey, there was no reason they abandoned it unless they didn't want to use it as an idol anymore. And if they didn't want to use it as an idol anymore, then therefore, all right, it's mutar, it's permitted for us. B'shas milchama sorrow, but in the time of war, it's prohibited for us. Why is it prohibited? Because in time of war, people want to run. All right, doesn't mean they don't want to come back. All right, so there's a possibility they're going to come back afterwards, but and therefore, if they do come back, the idol status still stays. So therefore, it is still prohibited to us. Bimsuya bimusiel bimus yaos shamlacham arei elu mataros. Now, there was a custom in those days when the king would be traveling on the road. All right, they would erect these stands with idols on them along the way. So if the king decided that it was time for him to pray to his idol, he could step out of his carriage and go pray to the idol. So the question here is, what about, and they would put up temporarily, what about if after the king had left, or the king's not there, or whatever, or the idol was removed, but the stands are still there, the pedestals, are they permitted to us, or are they considered part of, as an accessory to the idol, all right? So pedestals stationed at the honor of kings, they're permitted. Because they were only put there temporarily, and guess what? You know, the king might take an alternate route, and all of a sudden, like in these motorcades where there's, several black Escalades or Suburbans, and all of a sudden they split in three directions, and you don't know who's in what. All right, so the king might not actually take the route of those pedestals. Amarav. Base Nimrod. What about the edifice of Nimrod? Now, that's talking about the Tower of Babel. All right, that's just another name for it. When Hashem went and wanted to put an end to their attempt to fight God by coming up to the heavens, and with this giant Eiffel-like tower, all right, he didn't destroy the tower, make the tower come tumbling down. He just gave everyone different languages, all right, and then no one understood each other. They couldn't continue building it, and they dispersed. So therefore, in a way, they ran out, and it was still a time of peace because it wasn't really war, umutar, and therefore you could technically still come back and sit at the base of this giant tower. It wasn't considered an idol. Afagav devi bidrinhu rachmana. So even though bidrinhu, the merciful one, meaning Hashem, scattered them, bishpash milchama dami, it's like it was a time of war. So it actually was a time of peace. but it resembled the time of war. Good morning, Jeff. If they had later wanted to return, they could do so. So that's similar to the temporary ones we said of the pedestals. If it's temporary, they could come back, and therefore uh, uh, they were not allowed to be used. However, if it was abandoned, excuse me, if it was a time of peace, all right, and they abandoned it, uh, uh, then they might still come. Then we say they didn't want any more, and we can use it. If it was a time of war, we say, they might come back. They just had to, run for their lives, and then we can't use it. All right. Midlo hador betule batla. So from the fact that they didn't return, it's evident that they certainly nullified it. So this is the answer to the Tower of Babel. What?
Sorry, where are you?
We're finishing the Mishnah right on 53b. Okay,
Thanks.
we didn't start the Gemara yet. So we're talking about the pedestals of the king along the roads. I'm just repeating the last things we learned yesterday. So because they did not come back to the Tower of Babel, that shows that they said, we don't want to do anything with this anymore. It's not considered an idol or an accessory to an idol when we could use it. Now, go back to the Mishnah's final ruling. I have a hard time with this word. Bimus yos, the bimus, shel malachim haray elim mutaros. We said that those pedestals are allowed. If we're just going to say we can use it because they're only used temporarily for if the king goes by, so what do you say? This is what the Tana is saying. Because they put temporarily when the kings go by. I mentioned this before, but sometimes the kings go a different route. Such pedestals are not considered idolatrous accessories. Now, the Gemara will record a discussion regarding idolatrous pedestals. Kiasa Ula, when Ula once came from Israel to Babylonia, Kiasiv Abimsa Pigima, he saw that there was a damaged pedestal that had been used for idolatry. So it was an abandoned pedestal, presumed abandoned, and the base of it was cracked. You see, there's a lot of marble statues or marble bases. There's a crack in it. Josh, you're in construction. How many times you put out tiles and this and that? And there are ones that have damage on the side, Basically, you discard it. What?
In the English, it says that he sat.
Well, I'm not up to that yet.
Oh.
First, he came from Eretz Yisrael. And then Yosef Abim Begima. He sat on this damaged pedestal. Okay? Well, with that, I told you, everything you're going to ask is in the next line. Amar Avrele, I read the riot act to my friend here. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda Lula. So Rabbi Yehuda said to Ula, Vaha, good morning. Vaha Rab Shmuel Damre Tavaya B'mius B'mus Shenifka Maso Barav Shmuel both said an idolatrous pedestal that became damaged is still prohibited for benefit. So it seems to be a machlokas because Ula here sat down, and here we have another opinion that says even though it's damaged, you're not allowed to have benefit from it. So even according to the ones who say the idolaters do not pay homage, or to idol fragments.
Homage.
Okay, I don't speak French. These words apply only to an idol itself and not to the pedestal. The Zila Bay Milsa Leflach Lishvarim, for its degrading to the worshiper to pay homage to its fragments, and he therefore nullifies it, meaning he says it's not an idol anymore. Of our high low ifcha lay, but this pedestal doesn't bother him despite its damaged condition, and is therefore prohibited for benefit. It's very interesting. There's places you go by, whether it's certain non-Jews' houses or restaurants, and you see these like Greek statues, all right, on pedestals, is similar to this. And what's interesting, most of those Greek statues are damaged. they're missing a nose, they're missing some other part of them, etc., etc. So obviously, no one's worshiping those.
Someone,
What?
someone took care of them.
Someone took care of him. Amalei. So Ula said to Rav Yehuda, Man yoivla miyafra de Rav Shmuel umalinan ayenin. Who will give us of the dust of Rav Shmuel so that we may put some in our eyes? This was a mark of esteem for them. Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, Tamar Tavail. It's very interesting. We're now going to quote Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, that they both said the same thing. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, remember, they're the guys who are in Israel. So they're the Westerners, as I said in the previous Siyam, right? And they would usually argue with each other. But in this case, they're actually both of the same opinion. All right, go west, young man. So nevertheless, there are Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lakish too, with whom the law accords, who have both stated that bima shenifka mutar, an idolatrous pedestal that became damaged, is permitted for benefit. Vafila mandamar of dimlishvarim, and even according to one who says idolaters do not pay homage to idol fragments, hanemile avodas kochavim. These apply only to the idol itself. The chevan the palcha zila be milsa levatula. For once he has served it, it's degrading to him to nullify it. Did I just read that?
Keep reading.
It's just
Keep going, baby.
but simply because it's become damaged. Of our honey, but as to these pedestals, the worshippers simply remove this damaged one and replace it with a different pedestal. Thus, damaged pedestals do not remain forbidden. Further, the Gemara cites a further proof to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish's view. Tanakh say the Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. It was to an Abraisa, according to this opinion, Bima Shenifka Muta, that a pedestal that was used for idolatry that was damaged is permitted. Mizbeach Shenifka Masha, but a Mizbeach, altar, thank you very much. An altar that was damaged, this is still prohibited until the majority of it is shattered, until most of it's shattered. And it's interesting to think back. We were learning a few days ago about the altars that were made by Merkulis. They put up two big rocks and then put a third one on top, and they throw rocks in it. So obviously, they kept on building onto this, even though that was the way they worshiped it, with rocks and rocks and rocks. So more the rocks to bury you, gonna rock tonight. So unless they're losing the majority of the rocks here, all right, they're still what?
The rocks roll.
Rock and roll, baby. Yeah, you got it. Bruce Springsteen. No, that's not who. Anyway, Hechidami Bimas. What does a pedestal look like? What does an altar look like? It's funny. They're not making fun of the question. One guy saying this, he says, "What's the difference between the two?" The difference is that we're going to say is that the bimas is a pedestal. It's a solid, structure, cube, whatever size it is. Whereas the other one is made up of rocks and probably maybe even has a little excavation in it because they're doing, it's like a fire pit. All right. Amar Rabbi Yakabaridi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yakabaridi said, name Rabbi Yochanan, Bimas Even Echas. Bimas is one stone. Mizbeach Avanim Hade. But that's a lot of stones. We're up to the next page? Yes, right? Okay. Hold on a second now. Nun Dalad Amid Aleph. Finally. Ve'ela Mikalim. Gemara finally cites Chizkiah's source. Oh, did I just skip Chizkiah's statement? What's the last line there?
No, keep going.
Okay, all right.
Chizkiah said,
Okay. All right. So okay.
Touch yourself.
But rather, derive Chizkiah's ruling from the prohibition that was placed upon the temple vessels which King Achaz contaminated through using them for idolatry. So, unfortunately, King Achaz was a bad king. All right. This has me at the top of Nunda. Oh, I knew something's wrong here.
Jump.
It jumped to Nundalad. The second line. Okay.
Shasp has a joke.
Okay. All right. All I have to do is touch this and the
Why
jump.
don't we just give you a regular Gemara?
Okay. I have fun with this. I don't have my glasses. I bring my glasses.
You want me to
Just-
get you glasses?
No, I want you to be quiet and let me just do this. Let me just touch it. Okay, here.
Not my fault. Shasp fault.
Touch it again. It's amazing.
Shasp
Okay.
thinks.
Stop it. That's not nice. Doesn't like this picture. Yeah. What's the first two words of 53? Why is this?
What is the verse after that? It says, what is
Okay,
the
hold
verse?
on. Just bear with
I'm
me a
stuck with you,
moment.
so-
Do you need,
Stop it.
do you need a chumash?
Stop it. No, I don't need anything. I just need to go here.
need a Gemara.
54. Hey, Amar Chizkiah. I told you I was looking for that. So what's the verse that Chizkiah taught? All right. Bishumo show Avnei Mizbeach, Bavnei Gir Mitzufanos, Mitzupatzos, Lo Yakum Asheru Mechamanim. When he makes all the altar stones like ground chalk stones, so that Asherah trees and sun idols will no longer be brought up. In other words, we just said when is a Asherah, when is a Mizbeach not good? When all the stones, the majority of stones are missing. Okay, and he gives the example of his pasuk. It's like when you take chalk. You ever watch little kids and they get this big piece of chalk to draw on? It's usually too big, right? So they end up breaking the little pieces, and then all the little kids are playing with the little pieces of chalks. All right, and then you walk, then you get all the chalk on your shoes. You bring it into the house, and everything's full of
That's a
chalk.
Bronx boy.
Yeah. Okay, and then you do hopscotch, right? Okay.
Maybe.
Well, you come on, or you can make a big square. You can make what was it called? 4 squares. 4 squares, yeah, yeah. Okay, like come on, shrimp about money. Or you can also use it to against the wall of the building and make kind of a target, and then the guy stands back for Johnny on the pony. And if you're playing stickball, you can make it for bases. There's so many uses for chalk. All right, but let's get back into Gemara. We see from the verse that if the altar stones are made like ground chalk stones, like Kumar Shemer Chamanim, they no longer will offer, will give offerings to their Asherah trees, and sun idols will be brought on them. In other words, basically what that means is that the owners of these altars will nullify them, Elov. But if the stones are not shattered, Yakumu, then they'll still bring up their, what do you call it, their offerings to them. All right. Now, what happens, listen to this. Gemara is going to discuss the effects of someone who commits idolatry with another person's object. So I come over to your car. You have a real nice Lexus that's in the driveway, and I decide I'm going to pray to your Lexus. All right? It's just an example. It's just for example. All right. Tana, nobody's touching my cheek. They ain't even coming close. All right, Tana. It was torn in the Brisa. Nevad, a live animal that was worshipped. Shalo Asura. Shalo, this is with a vav. If it's his own animal, it is it is prohibited for use as a sacrifice. So if somebody worshipped his own animal, guess what? He turned that into an idol. All right? So if he had a billy goat and he worshipped it, it becomes Billy Idol. All right. But if it's fellows, it's permitted for use as a sacrifice, meaning that if I come and worship your wait, this is crazy. It says, if I go and I'm worship your Lexus, it's also permitted for use as a sacrifice. How can that be? How can my worshiping his Lexus all of a sudden turn his Lexus into an idol? It's a good question. Don't worry. The Gemara cites a contradictory brisa. Every time you have this question that really doesn't make sense, all right, you say, it doesn't make sense, because I'm going to right away bring an answer to show you why it does make sense. So we're going to bring a ruling from another brisa. Remember, brisa is independent Mishnah, didn't have a Gemara. It's like a lone soldier. We have to adopt it. Where we can put it here. What's the case of a worshipped animal that the Torah disqualifies for temple service? Any animal that people worship. Bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid. I know you're going to ask the question right away. Whether it's by accident, inadvertently, or whether it's deliberately, Bain honest, Bain son, whether they did it by will, against their will, or willingly. So right away you're going to ask a question. You say, "Wait a minute! I know that if you make me do something against my will, I'm not responsible for that. You forced me, you coerced me, right? Even legally, it doesn't count." Oh, that the answer's next line. What does that mean?
The three cardinal sins.
Oh, that's a three-coin sin. It's going to come in here, not necessarily. All right. Love kiganda honest. All right. Love kiganda honest behemoth. Behemoth chavero b'shtechavelo. Is it not where someone took his fellow's animal by force and bowed down to it? So we're talking about where the guy came along and you're the bull. And I took the bull by its horns and I bowed down to it. Chasham, not me, but that's what the person did. And in that case, the person bowed to someone else's thing. He's turning that bull into an animal. That's you know what regarding bull. And the Brisa rules in this case that the animal is. I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
The kid's gonna ask his mom, what does that mean?
Talking about he took the bull by the horns. And the Brisa rules in this case that the animal is like, you guys have such dirt in your mind. And the Brisa rules in this case that the animal is prohibited for sacrifice, even though it does not belong to the worshiper. That's a question. It's a rhetorical question. So you're saying that in this case where I took the bull by the horns, all right, it's prohibited, even though it doesn't belong to me? So Gemara resolves this contraindication. As a result, Rabbi Bar Chama said, "Lo kekontra nasu anasuhu of the kochavim v'shtachabel lehem todidei." No, the latter brisa, this is what we just called, refers to a case where the idol worshippers forced the person to bow down to his own animal. So they forced him. So again, we said that if you're forced, Rahman Patre, we're going to say this right now, Masifla Rav Zara, on this Rahman Patre. But in such a case, the animals shouldn't be prohibited because the merciful one, Hashem, exempts people from liability when one is coerced, a victim of circumstances beyond his control, and brings from the famous story of the Naira Marosa, right? If a woman's engaged and she unfortunately an act is done upon her against her will, someone, all right, you don't do anything to her. It was against her will. So in this case, why are you saying that this animal is becoming your Lexus, all of a sudden became an idol? You said, "Hey, get out of my driveway. I want to keep my Lexus."
Should have had a gate.
How many years you have that Lexus?
Should have had a gate.
How many years? No, not saying, yeah. Time for new Lexus.
That's Dr. Stein's best.
Amar
Take the bull by the horns.
What? He wants you to get, come, I'll say you, you look in the it doesn't get good. He drives too far. He doesn't get, he needs good mileage.
Take
All
the
right.
bull by the
Ella Amar Rava, Ella rather Rava said, "Oh, you can buy a ram that we can take the bull by the horns." All right. Rather said Rava, "Hako hayu b'chlau lo tabdim." All idolatrous acts, even ones performed under duress, were included in this prohibition. You shall not bow down to them. You shall not serve them. So that's the general. La hakasa v'chai behem. But when the verse specifically specified to you, "And shall guard my decrees and my laws, that man shall carry them out and live by them, and you should not die by them," yatsa honest. That's where we learned that coercion gets you out of that situation. Father Kasov, Rahman get this. All right. Afterwards, it says, Hashem wrote, "And you should not desecrate my holy name." Tafilu ba'onis, which teaches us that one is prohibited from committing idolatry, even where it's a case of coercion. Now, wait a minute. We said the same thing, one contradicting the other. Either Rahman is patre, either coercion it excludes it, you and your pato, or it doesn't exclude it. So how can you say there's two different situations? But seeing the forehead, yeah. One is talking about where the coercion is done in private and one in public. So if they coerce you, that someone comes in your house and says, bow to this statue here, this and that, you know what, you can do it. Because you can always say, I never did it. You really didn't mean it, this and that. All right. And no loss. All right. But if it's in public and people are watching you, that's another case. That's where you really, that's one of the three sins you mentioned. All right. That's where one is prohibited to worship an idol in public, even under the threat of death. All right. So there it's evidence that such an act is nevertheless viewed as idolatry. Accordingly, an animal that was worshipped, even under threat of death, is forbidden from temple sacrifice, Rami Bachama asserts. So if they pulled the person out to do in the public courtyard, and they said, worship this animal, all right? And he says, no way, Jose. I'm not worshiping that animal. I'd rather die if I had to. It's against me. But let's say they don't kill him. They have Rahmanas, all right? Nonetheless, all right, that animal, is that animal usher or not? He never got to worship it.
But the other,
Well, but let's say he did worship it because he was coerced. But afterwards, they didn't kill him. All right. So he did something that he wasn't supposed to do because he was supposed to die and no, because it was in public. Excuse me. He was supposed to die, but they didn't kill him. He looked out. That'll be between God and him. But as far as the animal was concerned, since the animal had been worshipped, all right, it can't be used for a sacrifice in the base of Mikdash.
this is like the Purim story.
What?
This is like the Purim story.
Why so?
Mordechai wouldn't bow down.
Mordechai won't bow, baby.
Yeah, it's the similarity is with bowing. Okay. I mean, but yeah, it's a little bit. Hillel says it's a little bit like the Purim story. You have to have good imagination, but sorry. Okay, I'm only Rabban and Rabba, but you're right. It is. There are similarities.
You wear the shirt that says Rennie.
Yeah, I do that. So when I look in here and I see the name, I realize I'm not looking at somebody else. Hi, Josh. Josh, let me ask you something. When you're putting your head down like this, is it because you're saying, "Oh, I can't take Rennie giving this share," or is it because you're looking at the Gemara? I wonder. You know, I can't hear you.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both, yeah. A little bit. Okay. Amalei Rabban el Rabba. The rabbi said to Rabba, Tane de Messiah lach. A rabbi was taught that supports you. Be Messiah. That word's where you get me. Shavadei kacham b'shas hakzera. Regarding idolatrous pedestals erected during the time of governmental decree against religious observance, aka times of Shmat. Afa Pishak Zera Butler, even though, what are you looking at me? That's what it means. All right. Afa Pishak Zera Butler, even though the decree has been nullified. Oh, it jumped on me again.
Shashvat stinks.
Here.
I need my glasses to read it.
I'm going to go downstairs.
See, this is I'm a rub
Shashvat stinks.
Stop it. Stop it. Just 1 second. I'm going Oh man, I hate when this. How far am I from the bomb for a second?
Oh boy.
Why does it's so sensitive? You know where my glasses are.
I know where I'm gonna go
you
get.
sit, but I don't know.
I'm gonna go get your glasses.
Okay, because you don't want to pay attention anyway.
I want to go get more coffee.
Pull my glasses.
Anybody want
And-
coffee? I'm
and
gonna
You're
bring-
doing a great job. You're doing a
Oh,
great
doing a
job.
great
Yeah,
job.
but I can't find where I was. Hold on a second. Where am I in the Gemara? I'm still on Nundal and Amad Aleph. Give me the line. Because it jumped out of here. Hello, Josh. Vidminstich. Where am I in the Gemara? Am I still on Nundal and Amad Aleph or Nundal and Amad Beis?
Olive.
Yeah, what line? Just give me
towards the
some.
bottom, before the white lines.
Bahadar, Kasav, Rahmana.
Before the white lines.
Before the wide lines? On Nundal and Amad Aleph?
Yeah.
What's the
You said-
first word?
You said something about people schmatting, whatever, and then you said, yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah, but what's the first word in Hebrew on the line? I mean Aramaic. I'm sorry for Bear with this technical difficulty in my brain. I can't find the line in the Gemara. You're saying it's before the wide lines, but what's the first word in Hebrew? Anybody reading in the Gemara? This isn't story time. You're supposed to be following in the Gemara. What was the first word in the Gemara so I can get back to
Look here. This is before. Here.
Don't show me English. You're going to show me English.
Look this. Do the other one.
Did you?
I forgot. Here, you know how to work this better than I do.
That's the same as this.
Did you get to the pasuk? V'hadar kasav rachmana v'lo t'chalalu es shem.
No, I didn't read that. So where is it? Come on, guys.
Here.
Nun Daled
Does it work
Amid
here?
Aleph.
Does this work for you?
That's exactly what I'm looking at. So it's
Okay, but I'll show you where it is.
oh, so show me where it is.
Why don't you just start at the top of the page again?
I'm not starting at the top of the page.
Far in.
What are you talking about? I'm Nun Daled?
Yeah.
So
Look,
why am I?
here,
He's
here,
talking.
right
I'm
here.
looking at the
Look,
bottom of the
here,
page.
Here.
What is it? Amalahu Rava. You know the decree has been done. I said Rami Bar Chama. Either words was forced to blood down to his own animal.
Here.
Maski Flo Rab Zara, did I say that? Yeah, Anas Rahmana Padre.
Amarava.
El Amarava,
Oh,
okay. El Amarava. All right. Hakol Bichlal Lo Savdim. All idolatrous acts, even ones performed under duress, were included in the prohibition. You shall not bow down to them. All right. But when the verse specified to you that you should live by them, you must by him, and you shouldn't die by him. Yatsa honest. All right, this includes coercion. Thank you. Hashem Kachi. Afterwards, in the same pasuk, Hashem says, and don't desecrate my name. The philo ba'ones, which teaches us to once prohibit for committing idolatry, even when he's coerced under the threat of death. Oh, I just read that. Right. One case is when he did it in private, and the other was when he did it in public. All right. And here's a proof.
Right.
The Gemara attempts to cite a proof to Rabba's view. Amarle Rabbanan LaRabba. The Rabbanan said to Rabba, Tane the Messiah Lach. A Brisa was here to support you. Mesusa, Mesuyas, show up the Kacham B'Shav Zara. Oh, we said this in time of Shmad. All right. FLP Shek Zera Batla, even though the decree has been nullified, Osim be Musayas Lo Batlu. The pedestals did not become nullified. So evidently, forced idolatry renders the worshipped item forbidden, as Rav asserts. Rav dismisses this proof. Amalahu, if it is only on account of this that you subscribe to my view, Lo Sasayan, that doesn't support me, because I can easily deflect this proof. Ema Yisrael Mumahava, Falachala Baratzah. You can always say, this was a time of Shmad. Think back at the time of the Inquisition. All right, there was
We weren't alive then.
hundreds of thousands of Jews that they said convert or we kill you. All right, so some took off with Columbus and came to America. Some went off to Portugal. All right, some went underground, and some were the conversos, all right, and the other different names, and the Moranos, and they made believe that they were goyim, all right, but they really retained their Jewishness. But the bottom line is they went and they bowed to idols, all right. Maybe it depends where you. I'm just trying to give an example in which that there might have been someone there who really converted in the thing, and he bowed. And when you're dealing with such masses, you say, well, maybe one, unfortunately, fell to this, and bowed. So therefore, we assume it's very interesting because we always go by the majority, and here we're going by a very small minority that can be argued that the pedestals are prohibited on the concern that there might have been a single Jew who worshipped that idol voluntarily. Very interesting. This is the first time we come across one of the first times I can remember coming across a case that's based on a minority. Rav Ashi rejects the proof more
So
forcefully.
you got to get rid of the Lexus.
Okay. Rav Ashi Amar. Rav Ashi said, "Lo tema. Don't say."
But
One could say, "Elavada Yisrael mamahava falach labaratzon." Rather, it's certain that there was a Jewish apostate who served the idol willingly. Okay. Let's continue. Hiskiel Amar. Hiskiel said, "Kigan shenisach labaz kochavim yayin ar karnei." A second Bryce is talking about a case where the idolater poured wine on the animal's horns as a libation for idolatry. Okay, so let's repeat the thing. I come over to your Lexus and I want to worship Japan. Who makes Lexus? Japan.
Well,
All right. And I take Coca-Cola and I pour it on your car. All right. All right. Because such is a type of worshiping in somewhere. I don't know. The Gemara questions Chizkiya's case. Maski Fila Rav Adabar Ava. Rav Adabar Ava object to this case. I never do, but is this animal considered one that's been worshipped just because wine was poured upon it in the service of an idol? I bimas bamahu, he rendered it merely a pedestal. He didn't really worship that. Pouring Coca-Cola on a Lexus doesn't mean I worship that. If pouring Coca-Cola is a type of worship to Pepsi, all right, to another idol, all right, then he just used your Lexus as a pedestal. I'm going to pour out the Coke. I'm going to pour it onto his. All right. So he wasn't worshiping that. So pouring the wine onto the horns of the other person's cow wasn't worshiping the cow. And therefore would mean that you could still use that cow for a sacrifice in the Mizbeach. Elama Ravada Barava. So Ravada Barava said, the second Bryce is Ben Cornell. The second case is speaking of a case where idolater poured the wine libation in worship to the animal between its eyes, between its horns, the Avad Bamasa, which case he performed an act upon it. Okay, so what we're learning here is a big difference that, I know Josh sent something, but I don't know what it is.
can we give the passcode to your phone?
No, don't worry about it. You can look on your phone. Or Josh, I can't see it right now. All right. Okay. So, in other words, performed an act in it. Okay. That it's not enough to pray, to bow down to an idol. You have to actualize your action. It sounds funny. You have to, it's not, machshava isn't enough. Bowing is enough. You actually have to do something, all right? It's a Nike commercial. Just do it. Once you do it, that makes it then as if the person idolized the idol, all right? All right? And this is accordance with the ruling Ula said named Rabbi Yochanan when he came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, or he came from the west to the east. Even though the sages said that one who bows down to his fellow animal does not render it prohibited, asaba asara. But if he did this, what I just said, an actual act, all right, then he renders it prohibited. So Ula presented what he thought was a novel ruling from Rav Yochanan to the Babylonian sages. Remember, Rav Yochanan, Reish Lakish, they're in Eretz Yisrael, they're the Westerners. The Gemara now notes that the ruling had in fact already been stated in Babylonian. Guess what? Not new news. Amalahu Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman said to the students who reported to him Ula's statement, Puku v'imulei le'ula. Go out and tell Ula. Kva Tegama Rav Huna Lishmasei Bebavel. Rav Huna has already elaborated your teachings here in Babylonia. Okay, just look here for a second. Where's Rav Huna? Okay, because actually the contemporaries of Rav Yochanan and Rabbi Yishmael, Reish Lakish would have been Rabbi Shmuel, but Rav Huna learned under them. So we're kind of all within this, we're same ballpark, of people learning yeshiva and this and that, their age groups, right? She said, so Rav Huna already taught this here in Bavel. Dama Rav Huna, what did he say? If someone else's animal was lying in front of an idol, all right, imagine this. The guy's walking with his cow. His cow says, I need a rest. He parks his Lexus. Where's he parking? He parks it right in front of Raymond's Chinese restaurant, all right, which looks like a giant idol in LA. Kevan the Shechas Bar Simon Echad Asara. And now the guy decides, you know what? He's going to shecht his animal, all right? He hasn't even gone through the whole shechting. He hasn't even gone through the windpipe and the food pipe, the carotid, whatever is entailed. I'm not a shechter. He's only cut one pipe, all right? He renders the animal prohibited for any use, all right? Not that it can be used for anything because it's already been killed, but but technically he's made that animal now usher to be given to the Beis Hamikdash because it was partially sacrificed, in front of an idol. In other words, an act was done. So the Gemara seeks the source for Chizkiah's ruling that one can render forbidden an object that is not his when he performs an idolatrous act upon the object itself. Oh, I still have time. Manala the Asra. Where do we learn this? Maybe we'll say we learn it for the Kohanim, whom the rabbis forbade to serve in the holy temple if they officiated in houses of idolatry. In other words, made themselves puzzle. Says that's not enough proof for Chizkiah. Maybe that's different there because Kohanim, they're very smart. They were the teachers in those days. They're very cognitive persons, all right? And therefore, it's possible the prohibition was placed upon them due to a penalty imposed on the fact that they sinned with what they're doing. The Gemara attempts to learn Rav Huna's ruling from a different source. Okay, if at first you don't succeed, try again. V'yela miyavnei mizbeach. So let's learn it from the stones of the temple altar, which was rendered forbidden by the Greeks, who used the altar for their idolatry. All right, so when the Greeks came in to the first bias, all right, and they started put pigs in there and did their own sacrifices, they essentially nullified the mizbeachs, the altars, from further use. But then we threw up Papa for two, this isn't sufficient proof. For maybe the reason for the prohibition is accordance with the teaching of Rav Papa. Now we're up to, right? 54b, top 54b. Or was it be behind? Vela Mikalim, but rather from derived Chizkiah's ruling from the prohibition that was placed upon the temple's vessels, which King Achaz contaminates through using them for idolatry. The Chsiv, so reading the Pasuk, as Koa Kalim, his niach hamelach achaz b'machuso b'mamalo hechanu v'hikdashnu. All right, so he says regarding all those vessels which Achaz had caused to be abandoned during his reign, his treachery, we have prepared them and sanctified them. So that sounds a little bit funny. What do you mean prepare them and sanctify them? You can't use them. So he explains, the master taught, hechanu shegezanum. What does prepared mean? It means we took measures to put them in Geniza, to put them away, all right? And Kidashnu and was Mekadesh were Mekadesh new vessels to use because we couldn't use the old one. But wait a minute, didn't we just say the rule is that a person cannot render forbidden something that's not his? So how did the vessels of King Achaz why then did these vessels, King Achaz, require concealment? They weren't his vessels to begin with. They're the Beis Hamikdash. Elakeven the Avad Bahu Mase is Itarsu Lahu. But because he performed idolatrous acts on them, that rendered them prohibited, which is similar to the previous statement that was made. Hachanami Keven Shesaba Mase Zara. Same here, too, Rav in this case, we're saying where idolatrous act was performed with the animal, we said where he cut even one windpipe in front of the idol, he rendered it prohibited. The Gemara records to know Rabbi Yochanan's rulings concerning idolatry. When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael, to Babylonia. He said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Amarav, okay. He said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, where he came from Eretz, yeah, okay. So Amar Afal Pi Shamru Hamishtach Bilakaka Olam Lo Asher, even though the sages taught the one who bows down to the soil of the earth in worship does not prohibit it from mundane use. But what if he went and he dug a well or a pit, or he dug a cave underneath the ground? So there he's doing a whale. Well, not a whale. All right. All right. You know what? You need to listen better. I don't have an accent. Your ears have an accent. All right. Kias.
About a well. Maybe a well could be okay.
Okay. Come on.
No, seriously.
What?
What's wrong with a well? It doesn't say well.
He's making an action into the ground. As soon as you make it.
A well is like he needs a well. He wants water.
But the point is.
Listen to hit the table.
Jeez.
The question is that bowing down to dirt itself doesn't make it prohibited, right?
Yeah.
But it says, but he brings a case. Well, what if you made actions with the dirt? You dug with the dirt. I don't care what you dug. I don't care for why you dug it, but you dug into it and you did an action. That would make us okay. Rab Shmuel, Ba Yehuda, Rabbi Yochanan. Listen, real questions allowed. Questions just to make fun of my accent are not allowed. Af al pi shamro mishtach v'chayim lo asran. Even though the sages say one who bows down to living creatures does not prohibit them from mundane use, asan chalifin lavos kochavin asran, but makes them to exchange for an idol, he does prohibit them. All right. Well, now we're going to get into a whole case of chalipim. We're just going to start this. All right. Kiasa Rabin Amar. Pligal bar Rabbi Yishmael bar Rabbi Yossi v'Rabbanim. Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yossi, and the rabbis disagree about this matter. Chanamah Chalifin Asurin, one says that only items that have been directly exchanged for the idol were prohibited. Listen, pay attention. Chalifin mutarin, but exchanges are permitted. Okay, so I'm going to stop for a moment because now it's show and tell. Okay. So when I was learning this, I learned it from several rabbis. One of them was Rav Eli Stefanski. Put your camera down.
Right. Starting to
from MDY. All right, and he told a story, and I have it on my phone somewhere, of this famous guy. I think his name is McDonald. Some guy in Canada. He went and he took a red paper clip. All right, there's a red paper clip.
It's like a purple paper clip.
Well, I couldn't find red. Or he took a red paper clip and he wanted to exchange it, kind of change it up. It's a really interesting story. If you want, I'll text it to you afterwards. All right. And he ended up changing it up for something else. Like he said, who wants to give me something for this? And he changed it 14 times. The 14th time he ended up with a 2-story house. So first of all, shows you never know what
Canadians are the worst negotiators.
Yeah, okay, but it's a very interesting story. So why did he bring that story? He brought it because it involves chlipin. Chlipin means changing. You change one for another. So we're going to learn now in the Gemara. Brought a chain of paper clips. All right. What if you start off with one paper clip, and this paper clip is usher for whatever reason, it's prohibited, right? And then you change it for another paper clip that normally would be permitted. So let's say you have a cow. There's nothing wrong with this cow. Oh, excuse me. You have an idol, all right? You want to get rid of the idol. You exchange the idol for a cow. Now you have a cow. There's nothing wrong with that cow. The Gemara can discuss, is there really something wrong with this cow? Because you got it in exchange for an idol. And then it's also going to discuss, well, what if you have something that became asura by virtue of an exchange, and then you exchange it again, all right? Then it says the next one becomes asura, but the last one now lost its prohibition. And it goes through the whole chain like this until the final thing is asura again, is prohibited again. And then the Gemara will discuss the first two are always prohibited, and they'll compare from Shemitah, and they'll compare from general cases. Philippe, and this, it's very interesting. I want to give you an idea because we'll only gonna do 5 minutes of this now because I have to go downstairs and say kash for my friends. Okay, so exchange chalipin mutarin. So he said exchanges of exchanges are permitted. That's going from the second to the third to the fourth. So but one says no, those exchanges are still prohibited. My time of demand who, what is the reason of the one who says that even exchanges of the exchanges are prohibited? Makrai says, he brings the pasuk, v'yasem cherem kamo. It derives it from the verse, you become banned like it. All right? And that's bringing the woe from Devarim. Get out of here! I just lost it again. Okay, he derives from the verse that states, "And you will become banned like it." Whatever you generate from the idol is treated like the idol itself. The idach and the all right. So again, going to the paperclip analogy. So if this was asur, the red paperclip,
Purple.
and then you trained it purple. For a blue paper clip, this was us or this was not. Now this one becomes us or according to him. This becomes prohibited. Us means prohibited. Amakra, wait, the other one says, he says the pasuk says at the end of that same verse, who the word it, the verse it teaches that it is banned, but not the exchanges of exchanges. Meaning this one is banned, but then if you trade it again and trade it again and trade it again, all right, none of these at all are prohibited, okay? Which kind of makes you wonder about legalities and illegalities in pawn shops. Like,
Whoa.
it-
Family share. Stop.
No,
Stop. Family share.
PAWN. Listen, fix your
Oh
life.
my God.
Right.
There's no way you said that.
Is that
There's no way you said pawn. No way.
I did say it. It's a pawn shop. Okay.
The cat's away.
Their minds are so dirty going back to the worshiping the ground. Just stop it. So the point is, if a guy trades in something that's stolen and then the guy sells it to someone else, sells it, and then you in the end buy something which originally, is that thing bought from stolen merchandise? And it's a good question. Anyway, we'll leave it to you to think about. The end of it says, "V'hu v'lo chalife chalifin." So according to the second one, he says, not the exchanges of exchanges. The Gemara explains the one who changes, who says that exchanges of exchange are prohibited, will expound the term. It is, meaning who, the idach, ahumi baile, lemuute orla v'chile hakerem. That pasuk is needed to exclude the first 3 years and the climb of the Karen. She mechadin the kiddush d'mehem. He says because machwan. What if the guy sold the prohibited? I'm going to stop now. The prohibited fruits or vegetables, whatever, from the first 3 years of the tree. All right, or the fourth. All right, but he takes that money and he says to him, Harev Mekudeshly, guess what? She is Mekudash. She is married. And we will continue with this very interesting subject, the Idach, according to the other guy, tomorrow.
54B3.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Josh, thank you for signing in. You're the only guy who signed in.
Go
So
say
it's good.
Kaddish. Go say Kaddish. Go say Kaddish.
I'm going. Yeah, bye. Hang this up. Hang up.
The picture was the chalk. You talked about the chalk. You
You
talked about the chalk.
Yeah.
So the chalk.
Hey, Chuck.
Okay.
I have to walk the chalk, not just talk the chalk.
It's too early in the morning for that.